What's up, guys? Today we will be comparing the OnePlus 12R to the Note 20 Ultra. This is a pretty interesting comparison because you get a Note 20 Ultra for 400 bucks used refurbished, but you can get a brand new OnePlus 12R for 500 bucks, and if you do a trade-in you get $100 off on any phone and it'll be 400 bucks. So it's a pretty interesting comparison. Is this phone better than an old flagship? Let's find out. So hardware wise, you do have a really nice design on both of these phones. They look pretty stylish. You have the glossy back on the Note, which does pick up quite a bit of fingerprints though. On the OnePlus 12R, it does have that matte finish, which looks really good, doesn't pick up any fingerprints, and it is definitely easier to hold in the hand. It's not as boxy as the Note. It doesn't cut into the palm at the edges of the phone. Yeah, so I do like the design on here. I do like this. This is easier to hold. Now you do have some big hardware differences here. So the Note does have the built-in S Pen, and basically with that you can navigate the phone, you can draw. Samsung has a ton of software that you could take advantage of as well. It's very accurate, and for anybody who really wants a stylus. But let's go ahead and talk about another big thing here why the Note is so popular is because of the SD card support. So this phone does have expandable storage, which the OnePlus 12R does not have. Also, the Note is IP68 dust and water resistant, and the OnePlus 12R is IP64. And this phone does have a really nice design. It's got a glass back. That's what the spec says, but kind of feels like plastic, but the specs say it's a glass back. And it has the metal frame on it as well too, so it's a really nice solid device. Alright, so for the displays on both of these phones, the OnePlus R has a 6.78 inch display. It's LTPO4 AMOLED display, 120Hz HDR10 plus. It gets up to 4500 nits peak brightness, is a 1264 by 2780 resolution, and 450 for the PPI. Now the Galaxy Note 9, not Note 9, but the Note 20's display, it is a dynamic AMOLED 6.9 inch display, and it is 1440p 496 for the PPI, but it can only do the 120 Hz at 1080p. So the OnePlus does have that advantage there. As far as the displays, the Note 9 is definitely a bigger phone. As you can see, it has a more boxier design. The the OnePlus has a more kind of curve to it as well, and they both have these curved displays as well, punch hole in the middle, and they're both very nice looking displays. It kind of depends on your preference, which display design do you like, the more boxy or the more curved. As far as the screen brightness, yeah, it is definitely brighter than the Note. Outdoors in direct sunlight, it's actually very, very bright, surprisingly bright. And yeah, I think the displays look really good on here. The fact that, so you kind of have an advantage with the Note as far as it being a 1440p display, but you can't actually use it, in the 120 Hz mode. So they kind of have their both, pros and cons as far as the displays go. So let's talk about these specs a little bit more, because I think this is pretty interesting. So the OnePlus 12R does have the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, again no SD card support, 128 gigs of internal storage, and 8 gigs of RAM on the base. The Note has the Snapdragon 865 chip. It does have the 128 gigs of internal storage and 12 gigs of RAM on the base, and then you also do have SD card support. You can see the difference in the single and multi-core scores here. This is running Android 14, this has Android 13, One UI 5. That was the last major OS update. The Note is only getting security patches from now on as well. As far as the speed experience goes, you really won't notice that big of a difference when it comes to speed on these phones. The Snapdragon 865 chip is still really fast. I think that might have been open already. I'm trying again. Yeah, it's still really fast. As you can see, it's pretty much on par with the OnePlus's 8 Gen 2 processor here. You probably will notice a difference, a bigger difference in video games maybe. Oh, you can see the Note actually beat it there. So I would say there's virtually no difference. Its speed is not something that I think is really a big deal when it comes to these two phones, because the Snapdragon 865 chip is just super fast. As we can see here, we can go ahead and launch PUBG here. see which one gets in here first. So again, when it comes to speed, like I say with these old flagships, they're so fast that even when you compare them to the newer phones, it's not that big of a difference these days. And we can see the Note beating it again. Now again, I want to be very clear here. I'm not like a hardcore gamer, but I'm sure if you really like put this to the test, if you guys really want to see like a more in-depth gaming test here, because it's still, the OnePlus R, it still plays pretty much on par with the Galaxy, Note 20 Ultra. Now, as far as benchmarks go, it's going to score better in the, GPU department, the frames department. So if you're playing something, I think probably a little bit more demanding, like Genshin or something like that, then you will probably need that extra power if you play like very demanding games. But for the most part right now, like PUBG, you can still play at virtually the same settings, 90 frames. And it's the same thing on the Note 20 Ultra. It's really not slow by any means. You can still play it, again, PUBG 90 frames, HDR Extreme, whatever. And you still get really good performance on the Note. So both phones do a fantastic job with gaming performance. But I would say, I guess you could say like the OnePlus is, I guess, more future-proof, right? So it will be able to still play games at a high level, maybe years and years from now, but who knows, the Note probably still will be able to do that as well too. So as far as like speed and gaming, I'm going to say it's not that big of a difference actually. Now I do want to touch on software here. So on the Note, you will be able to take advantage of Samsung desktop support, secured folders, what else you have, Good Lock I think is a big one, but this phone will not be getting any more majorOS updates. The OnePlus of course will be getting updates as well, so that's something to take into consideration. But yeah, I do like Samsung's OS a little bit more. I think it's just a little bit more functionality, but OnePlus Oxygen OS is pretty nice, it's pretty smooth. You do have quite a few things in here that you can play around and mess around with. So I think it's pretty cool. It's very clean and organized. It's something I really like. I haven't had any major issues with software. And let's talk about the biometrics. So on the Note, you do have the ultrasonic fingerprint sensor on here, which works really well. You kind of can like lightly tap it, and it's pretty fast. On the OnePlus does work pretty well as well. You just have to apply just a tiny bit of pressure to it, but honestly it works really well. Let's check out these speakers. We're gonna go max volume, starting with the Note. Okay, so I definitely prefer the sound of the Note, even though the bass is a little bit louder on the OnePlus. The issue with the speaker on here is that it doesn't sound as clean and balanced as the Notes. It just sounds like it really just sounds like a cheaper speaker to me. Yeah, it just doesn't have that like crisp sound to it. If you have the phone, if you guys can like compare them, I'm telling you, it just sounds like a cheaper speaker. Maybe they cut the cost with the speaker, but yeah, that's definitely something I noticed. I just don't prefer this speaker's quality over the Notes. All right, let's talk about the cameras here. This is probably one of the most interesting things, and when I was looking at the pictures, I was actually pretty fascinated with the camera quality that the OnePlus 12R was giving. I thought it was pretty impressive. I thought the Note was pretty impressive. So I want to know what you guys think here. I felt like some of the pictures were going back and forth here. But with the OnePlus 12R, it is a 50 megapixel standard, a 8 megapixel ultra wide, and then a 12 megapixel macro. It shoots in 4K 60, and then a 16 megapixel selfie cam that shoots only in 1080-30. Now the Note, it does have a 108 megapixel standard, a 12 megapixel periscope telephoto that does 5 times optical, and it does the 50 times hybrid zoom, and it shoots up to 8K 24. It also has a 10 megapixel selfie that shoots in 4K 60. So check out these side-by-side stills and video. Let me know what you guys think. right, so this is an area where I think the OnePlus really dominates. And so it has excellent battery life. So it has a 5,500 milliamp hour battery. Has a really big battery in here, and yeah, the battery life is pretty good on this phone. It's really good. Now it has between a 100-watt charger depending on the region, or 80 watts, and then it just charges up extremely fast. Now you will be losing out on the wireless charging and reverse wireless charging that the Note has. So you know, this does have the wireless and reverse wireless charging, and the battery life is much better. So the OnePlus 12R has much better battery life. Even if this battery was new, it still wouldn't have as good as battery life as this. It has a smaller battery than Note. It has a 4,500 milliamp hour battery, 25-watt charging, so it charges slower as far as the wire, but it does have wireless and reverse wireless charging. And the Note can get you somewhat decent battery life. Even though mine's is used, I can still squeeze almost around close to like 5 hours 30 minutes of screen on time with this phone as a light user. But yeah, the battery life is much better on the OnePlus for sure. So yeah, so that is pretty much it. I was pretty impressed with both of these phones. I think the Note still costs quite a bit, but I definitely understand the market for, you know, a phone that like this, with this quality, with SD card support. But the OnePlus 12R was pretty good, guys. I was pretty impressed with this phone. What do you guys think? Which phone would you guys buy? Let me know, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.